So we're up to Hey Aleph Amid Aleph, 5 lines up from the bottom of the narrow line. So you buy a little. We're talking about, we said the halacha that a shayl, when he comes to the conclusion of his she'ela, his term of a borrowing, at that point, we said he no longer has a din of a shayl. A shayl is chayiv anoint. So the question is, well, what is his new status? So the question is, does he become? He's no longer shayl, but he still is a shayim mesachar. He only goes down one grade. Till now he was chayiv and einzin. Now he's going to be chayiv for gneva vaveda. Maybe he becomes mamash shayim mechinam. He's watching it on behalf of the owner. He's not getting paid. Do we take into account his former status that he got something from the owner of the item, that he was able to use it, and now, even though that status is over, do we say it carries over and it makes him still into a shemisach? Or do we say no, that whole thing is over, and now he becomes someone who's watching something for free, becomes a shemachid? Amar Amen. Mistabra potter Mishael v'chayiv k'shemisach. Pashas, he does remain a shemisach. Since he did have hana from it when he was a shayl, when he borrowed it, he got to use the chayvitz, so he had a great hana from it. It was totally to his benefit that he borrowed it. I'll bring a raya, a brisa like Ameimer. Halakech kelim beis umen l'shagel lebeis cham. Someone who bought kelim from a seller, somebody who makes them, and the idea was he was going to bring it to his shver and see if his prospective bride, if his kala, likes these kelim. But he's not sure if she's going to go for it. You know, it was a ring, it was a necklace, right? And she might not like it. It's like I just did my last shidduch, my 5th daughter, and the whole concept that there's no such thing as the actual gift anymore. Now it's just you take the girl to the store and you give her a budget. Takes away the whole geschmack of the thing. In any case, that's what they was like that even then. They would decide if they liked it. V'amalai, so this chassan said to the diamond merchant, I'm taking it on consignment. If she likes it, then I'll pay you for it. He said, if not, I'll pay you. Listen, at least I enjoyed the fact that I showed up to her with something, and she's not going to look at me as a loser. So I have to pay you something for that. And then an oinus happened, and the diamond got lost. On the way there, certainly the chassan is going to be chayiv because he bought it. He bought it on t'nai. If she likes it, then he's going to pay for it. But in the meantime, he bought it. But after that deal is over. At this point, he knows he's not buying it anymore. He's not having any hana from having it now. This chassan, he's just bringing it back to the owner. So then he's potter. If it was nenes, it was an oinus, so he's now became a shayim, and the shayim is potter on oinsim. So you see, we call him a shayim, even though, like our case of a shayl, where the term of the shayla ended, and over here it was a purchase or it was a hana. Even if it wasn't the purchase, he had hana from the fact that he took it, so then he became a shayim. But that ended. Now he's on his way back. Even so, since there was a previous status of a shayim, he had hana earlier. That hana carries over, and that which he still is bringing it back, he remains a shayim. So let's go on. Who gavra zavan lechamra lechavre? There was a fellow who sold wine to his friend. Amalei kamamtina le'ledukta pliny. He said, and the purchaser told him, listen, I'm going to this place, If I find someone to sell it over there, it's good. The same status where he said, I'm buying it. I'll try that I can find someone who wants it. If there's no one who wants it, then I'm bringing it back. Azal is davna. He went and he couldn't find anyone to buy it, so now he has to bring back the wine. And as he was coming back, there was an einus. Also, the kamed of Nachman chayve. If Nachman was mechayev him on an einus, we just said that he's a shem sacha. Shem sacha should be pater on einus. We just said that einus on the way back is pater. On the way there, he's a purchaser. Then of course it's his. He's chayev. But on the way back, he's just a shem sacha. Should be pater. Neshuk is nice sacha. Amalei chazar dahai alichahi. No, he says no. This is different. When someone buys inventory, he buys wine to sell. Even on the way back, it's still considered that he's a purchaser. My time must faru because he's always selling. If he finds someone on the way back to buy it, he also. It's not likely, but he's still. If I find someone who'll sell it, he's not going to all of a sudden say, "Oh, now I'm a shem sacher, I can't sell it." So it's still in his rishus. The Mishnah had said, "Shemar li ve'eshmalach shem sacher." If Ruvain said to Shimon, I'll watch your chayfetz, I'll watch your cow, and you'll watch my cow. He blives a shem sacha because each one is benefiting, right? Let's say Ruvain who said, you watch my cow for me, and I'll watch yours. So when he's watching Shimon's cow, he's benefiting that in return, Shimon is watching his cow. This is a case of Shmira B'Bailim. Let's see the Rashi and Shmira B'Bailim. Amai Shmira B'Bailim. 4 lines up in the narrow lines. Bailav shel chayfetz zeh shenignav v'malachta shel shaymer haya. This Bailav, the owner of this chayfetz that was stolen, he was under the shaymer. The owner of this chayfetz was working for the shaymer. Who b'shamer hayalei. He was also washing for him. If the Bailam are working for him, he doesn't pay. But it come on, as long as he's working for him, as long as someone is working for you, as long as he's doing some type of job for you, there's no din of a. We'll see exactly what it is, but he's not considered to be chayiv for einzin. It's not just this pasuk of Imbal of Imai. It's said on the shell. It also applies to a Shem Esach. That if the owner of the chayfetz is working for you at the time of the whatever happens, when something happens to the chayfetz, the shomer is not going to be chayiv. So what do we say over here? In this case that we're saying where each one is working for the other one, they switched. So each one is a bailam. The bailam of the chayfetz is working for him. Amar Papa the Amalei Shemar le'ayan v'ashmalach l'macha. Papa says no, it's not a kasha. They didn't make up to do it at the same time. It was consecutively. You watch it. I'll watch your thing on Tuesday, and you watch my thing on Wednesday. So at the time, let's say Reuven says, "I'm going to watch your thing, Shimon, on Tuesday," and Shimon says, "I'll watch your thing on Wednesday." So at the time that Reuben has Shimon's chayfetz, Shimon is not working for him. It has to be at the same time. Tan Rabban. Morning, Dopey. So we're just learning the din of Shmira B'Bailim. If the Torah says in Baal of Imai, if the Bailim of the chayfetz, if a shamer is watching something, and the owner of that chayfetz, the person who lent it to him, who gave it to him as a shmira, is working for him in any capacity. He's a secretary. If he borrows something from a secretary and she's working as a secretary, he's not going to be chayiv for whatever happens. We'll see, not always, but if it's an oinus, he's going to be pater. If it's an oinus, if it's stolen, lost. So we're up to Tanu Rabbanan, 10 lines from the bottom on Pei Aleph Amar Aleph. Tanu Rabbanan. Shmarli ve'eshmalach. If this is going on the our Mishnah that said, I'll watch for you and you'll watch for me. We said each one is a shemesach. So this is a price. So Shmarli ve'eshmalach. Reuben says, I'll watch for you and you'll watch for me and I'll watch for you. Hashileni v'ashilcha. Lend to me and I'll lend to you. Shmarli v'ashilcha. Watch for me and I will lend you. Hashileni v'eshmalach. You lend me and I will watch for you. They're all considered to be shemesacha zelazeh. Each one is benefiting, and whatever the case is, if they're exchanging, you'll be a shemer for me, and I'm going to lend to you. Whatever combination is, each one is being a shemer in return for the other one being shemer for him. Again, that first case of shmarli ve'eshmalach, each one is a shemesacha for the other one. So it's the Bailim are working for him at the time that he is a Shomer Sacha. Each one becomes a Shomer Sacha, and therefore they're working as a Shomer Sacha for the other one. Right? They're a paid worker. Amra Papa, the Amalei Shmarli Hayan Veshmalach Lamach. Again, the same teretz, even though the Brisa said Shmarli Veshmalach, it means that they're doing it on two separate days. And this din of Shmir B'Bailim that it parts as a Shomer is only if it's contemporaneous, if they're both happening at the same time. But if it's on two separate days, it's over. Hanu Ahaluyi. There were these soap sellers, people who sold soap. The Chol Yuma have apel echad minay. Every day, one of them he would have the job of baking the bread for their lunch. They were like a group of workers together, and they'd switch off every day. A different person would do it, and it was this guy's turn to do it. That day they said to one of them, Zil Apilon, today it's your turn to go bake for us. He said to them, please watch my cloak, because I got to go bake. I have to take off my coat. I don't want it to get dirty. Adasa Pashu Bava Ignav. And before he came back from cooking the bread, they were Pesheya, the other soap sellers, went and were carousing about, and it got stolen. They were Pesheya. Also, their Papa came to our Papa Chayvinu. Our Papa said that they are chayiv to reimburse him for his cloak. They weren't careful with it. They were washing it for him. They weren't careful. They're chayiv. Amalei Rabban Papa, Amai. Why are they chayiv? Shia b'Bailambi. At the same time that they were watching his cloak, he was baking bread for them. So he is working for them. So it's a pshia b'Bailam. As long as the owner is working in any capacity, so then it's a din of imbal of imay, and there's no chi of shmira. So why are they chayiv for their pshia that they did while he was baking their bread? Ichsen. The Papa was embarrassed that he had forgotten this rule. In the end, it turned out that that Papa was really right, because this baker, he was supposed to go bake bread, but in the meantime he went to the tavern and he was drinking. He had himself a beer. Went down to drink in the tavern. He hadn't yet started to bake. So he was off the hook. Papa, I think there's some moral thing going on here. That Papa was embarrassed for saying the wrong halacha, and that the Gemara is saying, and because it will be repeated a couple of times, that Lamaisa B'nai Shalom does not embarrass someone, and there's a siyata d'shmaya when he paskins that it was taka the right psak. He opens it as a siyata d'shmaya in a paisa. So Papa, even though he had forgotten the rule that Shmir B'Bailam is potter, it happened to be that anyway this guy wasn't actually working at the time. So we're on the bottom of Pei Aleph, Amar Aleph. So what was the story again? Okay, these guys were all baking. These guys were all soap sellers. They asked him to bake for them, and while he was baking, they thought that while he was baking, they were watching his cloak, and his cloak was stolen from because of their pshia. They weren't careful, they left it out in the street. So we're saying that it's not Shmira B'Bailim because they weren't really, he wasn't really working at the time. So Gemara, what was this whole discussion? Why was Rav Papa? Why did Rav Papa think that the fact that originally, when he thought he was working at the time, why did Rav Papa think that would pater the other workers from paying him for his cloak? That's only if you say pshia, even a pesheya, while the person is working for you is pater. I mean, we set a rule that the Torah says in Baal of Imai, if the Bailim are employed by the Shomer, then the Shomer is pater. We had set it as a general rule that no matter what, the Shomer is going to be pater as long as the Bailim is employed. But this is only good if you say that even holds true if the Shomer is a pesheya. There's a mandama who says, listen, pshia means he's negligent. The fact that the Bailim, the Torah never meant to say, if a pesheya is really like he caused it. He was negligent, he took your thing and he didn't watch it. So pshia still is chayiv. So, if you say that a pesheya is chayiv, these people were pesheyim. That's the way we said the story. So the Gemara says the story was really a little different. It was not that he was a it's not that he was a shemus, that they were shemachinam who would be potter for gneva v'aveda, would be chai for gneva v'aveda. Ahu yuma lavdi day hava. It wasn't really his day that he was supposed to bake. For amalei zil apelam v'at at for amalahu bahu agad dekafina lechu naturu glimai. Until now, we thought until now that he was a shemachinam, and I mean they were shemachinam on the cloaks. It means it happened to be his day that he was supposed to bake, and so he was responsible to bake no matter what. He was baking in return for they're going to bake for him a different day, and he said, "Listen, while I'm baking, could you please watch my cloak?" But it's not that they were obliged to do so in return for his baking. So they were shaymechinim. So the only way they could have been chayiv was al pesheya, because al gneva v'avayda they would be potter al shaymechinim. Now the Gemara is saying that wasn't the case. Really, it wasn't his day to bake, and it was an agreement. They were trading. They were saying, "We'll watch your cloak if you'll bake for us." He was a shem sacher. They were shem sacher on his cloak. If it would be his turn to bake, then he's doing it in return for their baking on their day. But now that he's baking. Now he's baking specifically because they're going to watch his cloak. That makes him a shem masacha. So then they would be responsible for nevaved. So therefore, you should watch my cloak. Ada asa igniv, and until they came, it was stolen. And you see now we're not mentioning anything about pshia. There doesn't have to be a paisheya for them to be chayav. They could even be chayiv for gneva v'aveda since he's a shem masacha instead of a shem achinam. So now we don't have the taina anymore that it's only according to the Manda Amar that a pshia b'bailim is potter, but according to Manda Amar pshia b'bailim is chayiv. This wouldn't make sense. Why Rav Papa was embarrassed? Igniv. So we say the whole story. Igniv also come to Rav Papa chayvinu. He came to Rav Papa. He was mechayiv. Amalei Rabbanu Rav Papa a shmira b'bailim. This is shmira b'bailim. Ichsef. He was embarrassed. So at that time, he was drinking. So we just changed it. We switched the case from being a shem achinam to being a shem sacha, and therefore it doesn't have to be a case where the other soap sellers were pesheya, and therefore it's not telling the machlekes of whether the heter for a shemer, if in Baal of Yima, if the Bailam working for him, is going to even be relevant when the shemer was a pesheya. Hanu Beitrei, these two, the Havakumaski Ba'orcha, they were going on the way. Chad Arich B'chad Gutza. One was tall and one was short. I'm not sure why it said that one was tall and short. Let's say in the art scroll why. I didn't notice it. Aricha Rochev Chamra, the tall one was riding on a donkey, Bahavale Sadina, and he had a linen cloak. Gutsa Michsi Sarbala, the short guy was wearing a woolen cloak, Kamaski Bakarin, who was walking on his feet. Kimatil and Ahara, when they came to the river, so in a river, in water, a linen is fine with water. It just gets wet, but it's light and it dries off. But wool is very heavy, gets waterlogged. It's not good for it. So he said, he took his cloak and he put it on the donkey. The short guy with the woolen cloak who was walking through the water, he took his heavy woolen thing and he put it on the cloak, on the chamra, in order to avoid getting it wet. The shakal sadina dahu, and he took the linen covering of the other guy, and he covered himself with it. I'm not understanding exactly why. A lot of unnecessary details, and it sounds like he took the cloak, the linen, so he should have something to cover himself with, so he won't be not wearing anything. So why did he take his thing and put it on the chamra? Chamra should have given it to the other guy to wear. Anyway, as you would imagine, what happened was, Shatfu amayim l'sadina. The water washed away this linen cloak that the short, stout fellow was wearing while he walked through the water. Also, the Kamei de Rava. They came to Rava. Chayve. He was Mechayev, the short guy, for borrowing. He borrowed it, and it was an Einus. So he was a Shaimer. He was a Shail. So he's a Mechayev. A Shail is Chayev in Einsim. Amulei Rabbanon l'Rava. Amai Shaila b'Bailam. He said, well, how can he be Chayev? At the same time that he was borrowed the linen, the tall guy riding on the donkey had borrowed the woolen cloak. So he was working for him. He was a shamer on the woolen cloak. Again, he was embarrassed. Rava was embarrassed. In the end, it turns out that, again, that Rava had nothing to be embarrassed. Rava had nothing to be embarrassed about, because he had put that woolen cloak there on the chamar without the owner of the chamar even being aware of it. So he wasn't a shamer. You can't become a shamer without accepting shmira. But down there, the guy didn't even realize he was responsible for it. So it wasn't shmira b'bailam. Again, you see that the Rebbe Shalom gives a siyata d'shmaya to a posek that Rava's psak, even though he didn't know all the facts, it turned out he was right. Who gavra? The oiger le chamra lechaver. He rented a donkey to his friend. Hamle chazi le tezel ba'orcha the nahar pekoid. Don't follow the road that goes over the nahar pekoid. Yikamaya, it's very wet over there. There's a lot of water. You're likely the animal's not going to make it if you take it that way. Zil ba'orcha the narish. Go on the other path, the lekamaya. That's dry, and that way you won't put my donkey into sakana. Also, ba'orcha the nahar pekoid. Of course, he didn't listen, and he went on the way with the water, because otherwise it wouldn't be Gemara. You know, Pinchas Khan, Rabbi Chaybalin, he was saying over Kasha of the Rajba, Shala, the Chuvas Rajba against the Pirush Rajba. And he said, my friend Rabbi Yankel Droman would always tell me that you can't ask a kasha from the Chuvas Rajba on the Pirush Rajba, because sometimes he's not always consistent. But he said, from then come nishmachin kamparnosa. Pinchas said, listen, I gotta say my shir. So we can't say that. So again, obviously he had to go on a har pekoid in order that we should have a Gemara here. He went on the way where there was water. And the donkey died. Gemara doesn't say it got pulled by the water. It died for whatever reason. He also, when he arrived back by the person who lent it him, Amar, in it's true, I did go on the Nahar Pakoy the way you told me not to go. There was no water, and it just died. Stamazai. So I'm not chayiv. Amalei Rava, Ma'al l'shaka. Rava says the reason why is he believed when he says that that's what happened, because he has a migu. He could say, I went the dry way that you had recommended to me, and it died from an inus, and therefore I'm potter. Why isn't it a migu? Yeah, it's a migu. Yeah, he's saying I could have said, I didn't have to make this whole story that it went on the way that's usually wet, and it wasn't wet.
Is this the case? Sorry.
We're talking about where there were no witnesses.
We don't say migas and myself. We say migas and svara. I could do this, or give me on this svara. I could have said this svara.
These are whether he's believed. It's a migo of whether he's believed to say that the animal died from inus that he's potter on, and not from a pshia that he went the way that the owner told him not to go, where it was. The owner's saying, I think no, if you took it there, probably it got washed away, and you're lying to me. It's all.
Is this the case of Tchilas of Pshia of Sefer Bainas?
I think, was that addressed? He's saying it's a pshia. Well, it's not a pshia, because if he went there and it was dry, what's the pshia? He could have turned around. Nothing actually happened from going there.
By not, we had a thing. If you don't listen to
right,
what the conditions are.
Okay, but that's only that the Rishonim talk about. But it's only if what happened because, right? We're talking about if he was supposed to go with Bika and it went in the Har. But it's only if what happened was related to the instructions. Over here, the animal died. It was unrelated, right?
Yeah.
If it got struck by lightning, we wouldn't say, you didn't listen, so now you're chayav. So anyway, but he's saying this Shomer is saying I should be believed because I have a migu. Amalei Abaya. We don't say a migu keneged a edim. What's the edim over here? We often find it's an anan sadi. It was very rare for this area to be dry, for this nahar pakoy to be dry. So it's an anan sadi. It's almost like there's an edus that there was water there. And he's trying to use the migu to say it was dry when it's always wet. It's always full of water. So that you can't use an edim keneged something that has the status of edus. Let's see.
You can't use an edim against something that has the status of edim.
Let's see the Rashi. You find this often. The anan sadi something called an anan sadi. If something is so certain, it's entirely certain that that's the case. It's 99% of the time he's going past the Mississippi River. And the guy says, don't go over the Mississippi River. You're gonna get blown away. The water's gonna push you in. He says, I went there and there was no water. So the Mississippi River, once in 100 years, dries up because there's lack of rain. So you're trying to say I have a migu that it was dry because I could have just said I never went there. To say kneged something that is that certain, that's as if it's as if there was edus that it was wet, and the migu does not have the kayach to overcome that. Very often we say a migu b'makam edim is referring to a migu against an anan sadi, in something that is virtually certain.
What about the fact that you still listen to the Bava mark?
So we said that before, that it doesn't make a difference unless the fact that he didn't listen had some impact on what happened. This animal just died from some external factor. So the fact that he didn't listen had something occurred because of where he took it. That's one thing. But his disregarding of his instructions was not relevant to what happened to the animal.
Why is it up to us to differentiate from the instructions?
Do you think you really should be penalized for not listening?
Yeah, he rented you on tonight. We have to understand what the time is. He said, don't go on this road. But that's really
but it didn't die because of that road.
He said his mazal, different things that were, he had bad experiences, that bad luck on that road. And he
Luck?
rented out, I'll tell you, you don't use that road. It's up to us.
In this specific case, it happens to be, he said, because of the water. He didn't say stamazai. I think they do mention that it's because it could be that had he said, I'm making my unreasonable.
That would have worked.
But if he says because of the water, and then what happened was not related to that water,
He went the shortcut.
Right, the only question is if he's believed or not. Look, the Gemara. We said in the Mishnah, Shemarli, Shimon said to Reuben, watch my chayvetz for me. Reuben said to Shimon, watch my chayvetz for me. And Shimon said back to him, put it down. Shemer chinim. So Shimon becomes a shemer because he said, put it down, put it in front of me, and I'll take it. Rav Huna. Amalei halach lefanecha. If Shimon had said, instead of saying when Reuben said, please watch my chayvetz for me, if Shimon said, put it down in front of you, instead of put it down in front of me, he's not a shemer at all. If he says, put it down in front of you, he's saying, don't bother me. I don't want to have anything to do with you. We said, if Shimon says, put it down in front of me, he's being makabel shmira as a shemer chinam. If he says, put it down in front of you, he's saying, don't bother me. It's your problem. But what happens? He says, put it down without saying who it should go in front of. What's it then? Toshma. Shmarli va'amalai hanach lefanai shemachinam. Our Mishnah said, if he said, watch it for me, and the shemer said, the putative shemer said to him, put it in front of me, then he's a shemachinam. Astama b'loy klum. From the fact that our Mishnah said he had to say, put it in front of me in order to become a shemer, it means that if he did it stam, then he doesn't become a shemer. So Gemara Ada, but Medamar of Huna Hanach lefanecha, Udeinu le'shemachinam v'loy shemasacha, Astama shemachinam havi. We have from the other brayso, or from the other din that Rav Huna said that if you said put it in front of, if the shemer, the person who's asked to be a shemer, said put it down by yourself, then he's not a shemer, mashma, but stam it would be. Neither one, you can't, since they're opposing mashmais, and we can't learn anything. Let's say this question of saying something stam, it's machlokes tanayim. So Rashi explains what we're talking about here. About 10 lines down in the narrow lines. Mishnah in Bava Kama. I think it's a wagon drive, or maybe it's a person who has kalim, and he put his kalim into someone's rishus. And the owner of the rishus, the person who lived there, his shire broke the kalim. So the owner of the kalim had given him rishus to go in, to bring in his kalim into his rishus, and then his shire, the shire of the balabayis, or the shire, or the share of the person who was given rishus to come in, but not the share shel baalabais. It gored the share of the person who lives there. We brought in his paris and his behema ate it. So we're saying the din. So to continue with the Gemara, if the person who brought in his animal or his paris and they got damaged, it came with the rishus of the baalabais. The owner of the chater is chayiv. Rabbi Aimer, in all these cases, the balabais is not chayiv unless he explicitly said that I'm going to watch them. You can bring your pay. Otherwise, you just say, listen, you want to come in with your payers, come in, but I'm not becoming a shem. So you see over there, it's the same exact question that we have over here. When someone says stam, does it mean, when the person says, either come into my rishus, or he says, put it down stam, is there imputed understanding that he's saying, I'm going to watch it, or not? Or does he have to say, come into my rishus and I'll watch it, or does he have to say, bring it hanach lefonai, put it in front of me so I could watch it? So that's the question. When you say stamazay, put it down or bring it to my rishus, does that mean and I'm going to watch it? So no, that's not a right. That was the Rabbanan say over there. That it's the stam means that he's becoming a shomer by the chotzer. Ala b'chotzer the bas naturi. B'kamalei ayel the interlach kamalei. A chotzer is a place of safety, and if you tell someone come in and bring your stuff with you, that l'chayre includes agreement to watch it. Aval hacha, but over here, where the two guys are standing in the marketplace, and he says, Hanach, put it down, shukala barnaturu. Anach, so when he says put it down, Anach v'tiv natalach ka'amar lei. He's saying, put it down and you watch it. There's no understanding. It's not a place of shmira. So when he says stam, we don't understand to mean that the person who told him to put it down means to say, I'll watch it. Inami, you could say the other way around. Ad kind of come Rebbe Hasam. Maybe only over there does Rebbe say, by the case of a chotzer, where the owner of the chotzer said come in, Rebbe says he has to say specifically that I'm going to watch it. That he has to tell him come in. When he says stam come in, it doesn't have to be that he's saying I'm going to watch it, because the guy needs rishus to come into in order not to be a trespasser. He has to invite him in. So his telling him to come in is just saying come in, but he's not saying I'm going to watch your things. And when he says come in, he's saying come in, but you watch your own stuff. I'm just inviting you in. But over here, in the case of the Sarab, when he says to put it down, stam, he's saying put it down and I'll watch it. If he's saying put it down and you watch it, does he use rishus to put down his chayfetz? It has nothing to do with it. So in order for the hanach to mean something, it has to mean that I'm going to watch it.
What are the words of Rebbe? Rebbe says,
unless he specifically says, come in and I'll watch it.
But how's that giving rishus to come into rishus in this yard?
It's including both of them. He's saying, come in,
right,
and then bring it in and I'll watch it. The second part is not on Rebbe. It's saying even according to the Rabbanan, right?
Inami is going on Rebbe.
Inami, Ad kan l'kam a Rebbe. I'm sorry. Inam, Ad kan l'kam a Hatzam Ela b'chatzre. Meaning, Rebbe says that just saying stam as I come in does not include that I'm going to watch it, because the guy needs to be invited in anyway. So you could understand what he said, come in. That just means come in. So, but in order for him to become a shamer, he has to also say, come in and I'll watch it. But why are you looking at it?
No, Rebbe's actually word says come in.
So when he gives him rishus to come in, he's saying, come in, but you watch it for yourself.
His words he actually says the words come to my yard and
no, he always says all he said over there is come into my yard. And we're trying to understand the machlokes between Rebbe and the Rabbanan is when a person says come into my yard, does that include a mashmayis that I'll also watch it? Or is he just saying come into my yard?
Rebbe's saying if you just said come in such a scenario, you're just giving rishus.
Right.
If he's not in this situation, that he says that you have to add those extra words, or maybe in other cases you would agree.
But in case of Hanach, you don't have to say anything because he's not saying come in. I'm not adding anything. We said if Ruvain borrowed money from Shimon and he gave a mashkin to Shimon while he owes money to Shimon, Shimon becomes a shemer sachar on that mashkin. Let's say someone lends to his chaver, and in return, while the lender gets to hold the mashkin of the shayol, the aveda mashkin, and the mashkin got lost. Rabbi Eliezer says he makes a shvua and he gets back his money. That means he's not a shem esacha. A shem esacha can't swear and be potter if something is lost. He's chayiv on gneva v'aveda. So it must be according to Rabbi Eliezer. He's not a shem esacha. He's just a shem echinam. And the Gemara, Rabbi Kiva, Aimer Yachalem leklum helvisani el mashkin. Avra mashkin avdu moisecha. Rabbi Kiva disagrees. He says no, that the mashkin, the lender who's holding on to the mashkin is the shem esacha on the mashkin. He says, I only gave you the mashkin in order that you should be able to borrow. If the mashkin is lost, now you've lost your money. Meaning the lender is not going to be able to collect keneged the mashkin. So the Gemara, Aval kalveyu elef zuz b'shtar v'niach le'mashkin aleim. But if this mashkin was given with a shtar, if Reuben had borrowed the money with a shtar, and in addition to the mashkin, in addition to the shtar, he also took a mashkin. To be a call of the mashkin of the moisa. In that case, everyone will agree that the mashkin is not going to, he's not going to be able to get out of paying. I'm saying the lender is going to lose his right to get payment from the borrower. In other words, the borrower he's going to be chayiv for the loss of the mashkin. So Dr. Gemara, let's see Rashi where he explains a little bit. Reuven borrowed money from Shimon, and he gave Shimon a mashkin. And this mashkin that Shimon was holding onto was lost. So there's a machlokes, Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Eliezer says that if the mashkin is lost, all this lender has to do is make a shvua to Reuven. Shimon has to make a shvua to Reuven that it was lost. He says, I'm a shomer chinam, and I'm watching it for you, but it was lost. It's a aveda, and therefore I'm potter on the chayfetz I was watching for you, and you still owe me the money that you lent me. Rabbi Kiva says no. He says that when someone borrows money, the loan is keneged the mashkin. It's dependent on the mashkin. We'll see in a second how that works. And therefore, if you lost the mashkin, that mashkin was intended to pay back the loan. It was in place of the loan, and therefore, if you lost the mashkin, you lost your ability to collect the money. The Gemara says, but that's only if it was a loan balpeh. It was a regular loan without a shtar. But if there's a shtar, the shtar is the way that you prove that you're going to get paid back. That's what you're using to as a raya. As we're going to see in a second, the machlokes really is whether a mashkin is intended as a place where you're going to be given the money from, or is it as the current dvarim ba'alma, as Rashi says, or is it just as a way to memorialize that there's a loan that the lender can always point to it and say, don't deny that you owe me money, I have your mashkin. So if that's the case, then if it's not legavaina, then he's just a shem echinam, and then he can potter himself by making the shvua. But if there's a shtar, then everyone will agree that the only reason to have the mashkin is to collect, because you don't need a zikar and devarim ba'alma if you have a shtar. The shtar is the zikar and devarim. So then the money must be as a likuvina, that it's there for him to collect from, and if he loses it, he no longer can collect the money of the loan. So we want to say, this is going to come back to the same machlokes. Is a person who's holding a mashkin, is he a shem esacha or is he a shem echinam? Right? If you say, according to Rabbi Eliezer, that you could swear and get back your money, it's being treated as a shem echinam. According to Rabbi Kiva, it's being treated as a shem esacha. So the Gemara, I feel tame Rabbi Eliezer. No. So this is mashma. Our Mishnah that said he's a shem esacha is not like Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer says he could make a shvua that it was lost and be pater. So that's like a shem echinam. So I want to know. I feel ten Rebbe Eliezer. Loy kash. Kansha mishkane b'shas halvasei. Kansha mashkane shaloi b'shas halvasei. It depends. That which Rebbe Eliezer said, that he's a shem mechinam, is only where the mashkin was given at the time of the loan. So at the time of the loan, it's unclear. Rebbe Eliezer will say it's only used. It's not intended to be goiva. It's at the beginning of the loan. It's just intended. Instead of a star, we want to have this mashkin so he could point to it and say, you see, there's a loan. But it's not intended to be the place where he's going to be goiva. But where he takes the mashkin at the end of the loan, when the guy comes, when Shimon comes to collect, and Reuben says, I'm sorry, I don't have the money right now. So Shimon says, please give me a mashkin now. And Reuben gives him a mashkin. Then it's clearly that mashkin is given to him not to remember the loan, but rather as a place for Reuben to be goiva. And then it will definitely be a shem masacha, where he'll be potter on Gneva Aved. That will be chayiv for Aved. In fact, tomorrow, Bahav, Aidi Hilvei Ol Amashkin Tani. Both of them, it says, how can you say it's talking about where it was Shaloi B'Shas Halvasei? It says Halvei Ol Amashkin. He lent him with a mashkin. That means at the beginning of the halva, not at the end. Okay, we're going to stop over here because these are going to be a series of different explanations of Machlokes Rebbe Akiva and Rebbe Eliezer. But B'li Neder will try to learn later today. Tonight, hopefully at about 8 o'clock.
Wonderful. All right. Thank you. Have a great day.
Take care. Have a good day.